Today we are going to be talking about setting expectations with sellers. So a lot of this is going to be, so much of this is basically exactly what I say in my listing presentations and when I'm actually meeting with sellers to list their house, whether I'm trying to win the business or if I've already won it, I'm just letting them know what's going to happen. Really, like anything else, right? We talk about this all the time. Setting expectations and explaining the listing process. If you want to have sellers are just like buyers. They don't know what's happening. They have strangers walking through their house. They're about to spend a bunch of money. They're about to make a bunch of money. They're about to move, all this stuff. They have an emotional tie to their house, so they're just nervous. They're overly nervous. So the more you can let them know what's going to happen next and what we're going to be doing, the more comfortable they are with the whole process. If you're not communicating with them and you're not telling them what's happening, what's coming next, they're just kind of antsy, right? They're jumpy, and it can cause them to make irrational decisions. It can cause them to shut down or fight or flight. And so the more you can communicate and the more you can set expectations, the more receptive and the more you'll be able to influence them. The more receptive they'll be and the more you'll be able to influence them. So we're going to talk about listing the right way. We're going to set expectations and explain the listing process. We're going to explain the buying process so they know what's happening on the other side of the deal. And then explain how we read the market. I think this is really important. I'll touch more on all these, but reading the market, you can never, sometimes you have to deliver bad news to clients, and it's always important to bring them data-driven decisions instead of my gut tells me this, or I think this, or this might work. The more data you can provide, the less likely they can argue and win that argument, right? So we're gonna read the market. We're gonna talk about how to do that. Okay, setting expectations. So we're gonna comp the property, provide a price range. So the folders we hand out here, these are the conversations that we tell you to have with your sellers. We want to talk about comps. We want to talk about the price and the condition of the home. We want to talk about showings and offers. That's how we're going to read the market. We're going to talk about make-ready items that you need to do on the house. We're going to talk about how we're going to market it. And then we're going to talk about how showings are going to work and how feedback's going to work. So if you look in your folder, it's the exact same things that are in here. So when I have clients and I go to their house, I usually bring this and I check it off as I go down it. Because when I have all their comps, I have all the photos, everything in here, and I check it off as I go down it. So, comping the property, it's important. Again, we'll go over this several times. The market will dictate the price. So I can't tell you what it's going to sell at. I'm guessing. I'm making a very educated guess based on data and historical data, but I am guessing what it's going to sell at. So I'm going to provide a price range for my clients. I'm going to say I think it's going to fall in the 290 to 325 range or 290 to 300 range, whatever it might be. Because their condition of their house is not going to be exactly like some of the other houses. The past comps, there is a different group of buyers 3 months ago than there is now, right? So comps 3 months ago are not going to sell for the same now. So it's a different market, it's different buyers, it's different house, it's different everything. So that's why I'm going to put it in a price range, and I'm going to tell them, I'm going to give them kind of comparisons. If your house is in fair condition, it should sell maybe at the lower end of that range, closer to 290. If it's in good condition, kind of in the middle. If it's in great condition, then it should sell towards the upper end of that range. And so that's why I give clients a range, and it allows us to be flexible once we get to the market. Instead of just saying, we need to list it here. This is what the comps tell me. It's a range. Price and condition. So this is how, this is us explaining to the sellers what's happening in the market, right? We'll use this term several times. The market will dictate the price of your home. So we're going to determine if the market thinks your home is priced right based on price and condition, because the home will sell as soon as the buyer's perception of price matches the condition of the home. It will sell every single time. So that's where if we're not selling or if we're not getting the traffic or something, it's because price and condition have not met yet, and we need to play with those two things until they meet. So that's where you're kind of explaining to the seller, if for whatever reason we're not getting the traffic or the offers or what we want, then these are the only two things we can adjust. We can either adjust the price or adjust the condition. There is no magic bullet. There's no extra thing to do. There's no button to push or marketing strategy we haven't tried. We're all doing the exact same thing. It's price and condition. My job is to get it out in front of a ton of people. I'm gonna do that, and if no one buys it or if we don't get the traffic, it's because the price and condition don't match. We need to figure that out. The way we read the market to determine if the market thinks price and condition match is by showings and offers. How many showings are we getting on the property, and have we received any offers? We'll dive more into that here in just a minute, but that's how we're actually reading the market once it's an active listing. So we're gonna explain these to our clients, right? If it's not selling, either decrease price or increase the condition. We're gonna determine if we need to do one of those things based on showings and offers. I'll show you how to look at the data here in a minute, but we're gonna determine, okay, in this price range, in our area, I need 5 showings a week so that I can sell my house in 30 days, which is the average days on market, right? So on average, we're getting about 20 showings to pending in this area. So I need 5 a week. So if 2 weeks goes by and I haven't gotten 5 showings a week, then we need to make an adjustment. Or if a month goes by, right? We need to make an adjustment because the market is telling us we're under the average on showings. And if we're under the average on showings, we're gonna be above the average on days on market. This making sense? I feel like I'm going back and forth much. So explaining how we're going to read that market to them. I'll go into it more here in a minute. Talk about make-readies for the house. A lot of sellers think, I'll paint the house if a buyer asks me to, or I'll fix this broken thing once I have an offer, or I'll replace this window before closing. And the problem is, the buying process is an entirely emotional process. There's very little logic built into this buying process. So if a buyer comes into your house and sees these little make-readies, these little punch list things all over the house, in their head, they're gonna freak out about it. They're gonna think, okay, if I can see these things, what things can't I see? And they're gonna irrationally freak out about it. Again, no logic. Or they're gonna see this repair, and even though it costs $1,000, they're gonna think, oh, it's gonna cost $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Because they have no idea, they have no imagination, they have no construction experience. So doing make-readies is the easiest way to make your house pop as soon as it's on the market. A coat of paint makes the house look brand new, whether it be in one room or the whole house. Fixing the little things, if there's something wrong in a high traffic area, spend money to fix it. If paint is bad, paint it, because that'll make a house look brand new immediately. So there's little things that you want to talk about in that make-ready conversation, so that when their house hits the market, it sets a really good first impression. Marketing. So this is my marketing strategy. It's worked for many years. I've seen examples of it working. I've seen examples of someone else doing the opposite and not working, and then me doing it and it working. But my number one marketing strategy is the internet. It's the MLS. There's no secret here. When I put it on the internet, when I put it on the MLS sends it out to 80 plus websites across the internet, ones you've never even heard of. And then anyone on the planet who's interested in a house kind of like yours will see it. They can't not see it, right? Because the internet exists. So the best thing I can do to market your property is make sure the marketing represents the home in a good light, that it looks attractive, that I highlight the important things, that I hide the unimportant things. So marketing is not where I'm gonna market, it's how I'm representing it in my marketing. And so what we do, that I think a lot of people do the opposite of, we actually, and it sounds counterproductive, but I show less pictures of the house. That's the bottom line of it, is I show less pictures. 10 to 15 pictures of the house max is what you want. I just saw today when I logged into the MLS, did you see that? They increased, what they increased it to? 50. So you used to be able to show like 30. Then they moved it to 36, and now it's 50 photos of a house. And I wish they'd track this data and give it to us. I wanna know, like, what is the click-through rate of 50 photos? How many listings does someone actually look at 1 through 50? I'll bet it's close to 0. I'll bet it's under 10%, under 5% probably. It's an absurd amount. Yeah, and if they do, yeah, how long do they stay on the photo for more than 1 second? It's an absurd amount of photos. The average house in Oklahoma is like 1,800 feet. You can't take 50 photos of an 1,800 foot house. You can't do it. So it's absurd, it's not necessary. So the concept behind this is less is more when it comes to online marketing. Put yourself in the mind of a buyer. With Zillow and all the other stuff, I can look at 100 houses a day online. And the next day I can look at 100 more if I wanted to. And so the mind of a buyer, especially when we're online shopping, really what we're doing is we're trying to exclude properties that I don't have to go see, right? And so when I'm on Zillow or Realtor.com or my portal, whatever it might be, as a buyer, I'm just looking for reasons not to go see this house, right? And so I scroll through, I see something weird, I go on to the next one. I scroll through, I see something that won't work for me or my family, I go on to the next one. So with online marketing, less is more. If I can just put 10, think of it like a magazine, right? You're not gonna put, if I was gonna pay money and advertise in a magazine, I'm not gonna put 50 photos in there. I'm gonna put 2 or 3 or 4 of the best photos to make that house look amazing. Same thing with online marketing. Put 10 photos in there that make the house look amazing. So when that buyer is scrolling through and they only see 10 photos and they like all 10 of them, they don't hate any, there's nothing to make them hate that house. They text it to the realtor, they say, hey, let's go see this house. Less is more. It's a hook. It's a bait on a hook. Online marketing is just a hook to get them in the house. No consumer buys houses online, if they can avoid it. Some buy them from out of state, very small percentage of the market. But most people have to walk in a house, feel an emotional attachment to it before they'll buy it, because it's very expensive. It's not a logical process. You have to have that emotional appeal to it. So the purpose of online marketing is to get foot traffic. That's all it is. I'm not trying to sell the house. I'm not trying to show you every square inch of the house. I'm just trying to get foot traffic so that when people walk through, they can have an emotional appeal to it. And once they come through the house, now I know who they are. I can follow up with them. I can ask them questions. I can get feedback. If I hear for sale by owners talk about this all the time. I'll ask them how the marketing's going and they'll say, 20,000 people have viewed it on Zillow. Okay, well, what has that done for you? Because you've only gotten 3 showings, right? So, or 100 people have saved it. That doesn't do anything. I can't follow up with those people. I can't contact those people. I can't get feedback from those people. But if I can show them a little bit, force them to call me or email me or come to the house, now I can follow up with them, I can get feedback, and I can close them, and they can build an emotional attachment to the property. So it sounds counterproductive to show less of the property, but the idea is reduce the exposure of the house to create more interest, to create more curiosity, get more foot traffic, and then sell people who come through. Because no one will look at pictures and think, I like all these pictures, but there's just not enough of them. Next. They're not gonna do that. They're gonna say, let's go, I gotta go look at this house. They're gonna come by an open house. They're gonna come do a private showing. So with online marketing, less is more. I think I beat a dead horse there a little bit. I don't go that much into it when I'm talking to my client. But the idea is less is more. Online marketing is designed to get foot traffic, not show them every square inch of the house, right? You see, I was gonna pull up an example, but I didn't have time to go find one. And I bet I can find one in 3 seconds. But there's houses out there that take 3 photos of a hallway bathroom, right? And it's like this big by this big, and there's 3 photos of it. 8 photos of the exterior, laundry room that's this big, taking 2 photos of it. So it's just not necessary. Only awesome, great stuff. And then that will get people to come see your house. So make sure they explain the marketing, because if you don't explain that to them, when you push it out there with 8 to 12 photos and their neighbor has 50, they're gonna think, what the heck? My guy isn't working hard for me, right? Or something stupid in their head. So explain what's happening. When you explain it to them, it makes sense to them, but you have to explain it to them. And then showings and feedback. So it's important to understand, when I list this house, it's gonna go out to 5, 6, 7,000 real estate agents. A very high probability that another realtor is gonna bring the buyer. I'm not gonna be present for every single showing. So the way showings are gonna work is we're gonna get requested, you're gonna get a text message, you approve it, another realtor is gonna come through. If there's not a realtor, I'll be there. But you're explaining that I'm not gonna be there every time and that you need to be on your toes all the time because a showing could come through this afternoon. So keep the house clean, do all that stuff. Eat out most of the time so you don't get crumbs and crap everywhere. So keep the house ready, because we could have to show a house at any time and I won't be there most of the time. The other thing is feedback. You have to set this expectation. When you get really busy, maybe even if you have 2 or 3 listings, but if you get to a point, hopefully, where you've got 4, 5, 6 listings, and another 5, 6, 7 buyers, you're gonna be getting blown up with communication from everyone. Title companies, lenders, buyers, sellers, other realtors, showing agents, you're getting blown up. This is one thing you can do to reduce the amount of calls you're getting. So if I'm having 4, 5, 6 showings a week on a house, which I hopefully am, I don't want the seller calling me during and after every single showing. So I set the expectation that every Monday or Friday at that one conference we went to, can't remember her name, she said she did it on Fridays to free up her weekend, which I thought was an interesting idea. I always did them on Mondays. But the idea is I call on Monday, I give you all the feedback from the last week. All the showings you had, any open house we had, any weekend traffic we had, I give you all the feedback. We talk about the market, we talk about what houses went pending in your area, what houses came on the market in your area. I'm just having a weekly conversation with you about your listing. Worst thing you can do as a listing agent is not call or contact, and they're just sitting over there wondering if you're even alive anymore. And that happens so much. Communication is the number one thing realtors suck at. So set the expectation. Every Monday, every Friday, whatever, I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna tell you about our feedback. I'm gonna tell you about any activity we got, and I'm gonna tell you about the market, what's going on around us. And what's gonna happen is you're gonna have a week when nothing happens. No showings, no one came through your open house, nothing came on the market, nothing went pending, nothing sold, nothing. And you're gonna be like, I don't really need to call them. Call them anyway. Tell them all those things. Because nothing happening is something happening, right? That means nothing's happening. They need to know that. They need to know it's not you, it's the market. We didn't have one house come on the market. We didn't have one house go pending. And if that stuff's happening, call the other listing agents around too. See if they're experiencing what you're experiencing. Then you can share that with your seller. Hey, I called 10 listing agents around us and they're all feeling the exact same thing. Or they're saying this and this, maybe we should try this and this. You know, give them feedback each week. And if there's no feedback to give, create feedback to give. I called these people and this is what they said, right? Instead of just being like, I don't know what to do, create something to talk to them about. You're the listing agent. Did all these make sense? So these are the conversations I have when I'm sitting down to list a home, and these are the conversations I have when I'm trying to capture, because really in my listing presentation, I probably take a different approach than a lot of people. I don't like to throw my accolades out there, say I'm awesome, I'm great, I can do this, blah, blah, blah. I just want to lay out the process and make them comfortable with me. You know, I kind of pull the curtain back a little bit. Here's what we're going to be doing. Here's what I'm looking at. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's what's going to happen. I want to make them comfortable with me so that when they're trying to decide who to pick, it's like, I felt the best when Brett was talking to me, or Brett explained everything really well versus some guy who's like, I've done this and this and this, and I'm the best, and I'm going to charge you this. So this is kind of my listing presentation. I set expectations with them up front. So that's a whole nother process as well. So pricing condition, I'm very visual. I'm a very visual learner, so I made this graph years ago. So home will sell when the buyer's opinion of price matches the condition. And so here is a graph. This is the sell line. If you price your house on the sell line, it will sell in the average days on market. So if the average days on market for your zip code or your neighborhood is 20, then you price it here, it'll sell in the average days on market. If the average days on market is 60, and you price it on the sell line, it'll sell in 60 days. Make sense? Now now here's your price and here's your condition. Now if my condition's really good and I price it really low, then it's gonna be in here and it's gonna be less days on market, faster sale. Now if my condition's low and my price is high, it'll be longer days on market. That all makes sense? So this is the sell line. So good condition, high price is on the sell line. Fair condition, medium price, sell line. Poor condition, low price, sell line. Good condition, low price, fast sale. Make sense? So this is it. So I like to explain this and show this to them again because we'll go over another slide here in a minute. But again, the idea is when price and condition meet, it will sell on the average days on market. Explain the buying process. So again, have to have this conversation with the sellers so they understand why we're doing what we're doing and how it's not an exact science. The buying process is entirely emotional. There is almost no logic in the home buying process. People will make a decision based off emotion and then try to justify it with logic, but it is founded in emotion. And so because of that, it's not predictable. Because it is based on emotion, it is subjective to each buyer. One house could sit on the market forever and then the right buyer moves into town, loves it, and buys it. Was it worth that? Maybe, maybe not. It sat there forever, didn't sell, but someone came in and bought it, right? It's a subjective process, emotional process. So based on the comps, we're gonna put the home in a price range, like I told you, somewhere between 290 and 300, 320, something like that. And then the market will dictate the price, right? The market will determine if the price and condition meet and at what price, and they're gonna make us offers. I had a listing years ago. It was a condo, it was overpriced. I wanna say it was 300. We had it 3 or 320, something like that. Sat on the market, finally got an offer at like 260. Didn't accept it. Got another offer at like 270. Didn't accept it. Got another offer at like 265. And I finally had to, like, 3 buyers have come in, independent of each other, weeks apart from each other, and offered all right about the exact same thing, 260 to 270. The market is telling us this is what it's worth. Now we can hold on to it forever if you want, but this is what the market is telling us. So we're either A, be okay holding it forever, or waiting on a unicorn to fly into town and buy it, or we can listen to the market and come down. It's not your fault that it's not priced right. You have to give them the information. They're adults, they make the decision. But based on what the market's telling us, we need to be down here. If you want to stay up here, that's fine. We might sell it, but it's like I can't predict it. It's going to be unpredictable. So you come down here, I can predict it. So the market will dictate the price. And so that was a real live example of the market very, very clearly telling us where the price should be at. If the home isn't selling, there's only 2 options: decrease the price or increase the condition. Again, right? So here we are. If the condition's great, even if it's awesome condition, it could still be off the scale on price, right? And you still have to bring the price back down. So there's only 2. There's an x-axis and a y-axis here. There's only 2 variables. There's only 2 things to change. Again, there's not another line that says marketing. There's not another line that says how good your realtor. It's price and condition. And so if those 2 are not in line, it will not sell. There's only 2 things you can do: is decrease the price or increase the condition. But again, setting the expectation up front here, again, it's not a science. This is an emotional, subjective process. And so that's why you have to explain that. We're gonna set a range, we're gonna let the market dictate the price, and then listen to the market. We're gonna take action based on what the market is telling us. This is how you can explain it to your sellers, the buying process. Again, another illustration of the buyer's opinion of your price. So valuing a home is subjective. Using comps will put in a range of fair market value. It's important to understand that the market will dictate the price. So if you're above market value, you can maximize your profits, but dramatically reduce the number of interested buyers. Fair market value increases potential for a fast sale without sacrificing your profits. And then below market value will get you much more interest and sell faster, but you risk leaving money on the table. So there's a larger pool of people who want to buy below market. There's a good pool of people who want to buy fair market who will, and then a lower volume of people who will pay above market. And these are people who are coming in from out of town, have a really niche need, stuff like that. They might pay above list price. So if you're listed above price, that's fine, but we're gonna have less people even interested in the property. So again, important to understand that, explain that to your clients. It's not you saying you're overpriced, it's me saying I'll list it there, but there's just gonna be less interested people. All right, reading the market. This is where I think a realtor can actually do their job. So much of being a real estate agent is just effectively communicating with clients, but this is where some actual skill and knowledge can come into play. So price and condition. When price and condition meet, the home will sell at the average neighborhood days on market. It's important to understand that just because I price it right doesn't mean it's gonna sell in one day. The neighborhood has an average days on market of 14 or 20 or 100. So if I price it right, I'm gonna fall into that average days on market. Now, if I price it below, that's where I can have quick sales. But it's important to understand, I priced it right, it's been 2 weeks, why hadn't it sold? Well, the average days on market is 30 days. That's why it hadn't sold yet. So that's an important caveat, the average days on market. All right, I'm gonna go through this with you here in a second. Reading the market, there's 2 ways to read a market. One is reading the market pre-listing, and this is giving expectation to your sellers. Here's what I can expect to happen. And then reading the market active listing, this is reading what's actually happening. This is getting showings and offers. If we're not getting what we need, drop the price or increase the condition. So I'm gonna jump into, I'm gonna jump into showing you guys so when you log into our MLS, Oklahoma City, Oakmar, MLS OK, we have an option here called Market Stats. This is what I'm looking at. It gives you stats up to the previous month. So we're in December, so I don't have December stats, but I have November stats. So I'm gonna click on market stats. It's gonna open up for me. And this is where I can see data as far as what's average sales, trending data, what's average sales price, how many new listings are coming on, how many homes are currently for sale, pending sales, closed sales, days on market, shows per listing, shows to pending, price per square foot, percentage of list prices, month supply, all this stuff, all this data that the MLS gives us from all their data. And it gives us trending reports. So what I'm gonna be looking for is average days on market. And I look at average, not median. So I'm gonna be looking at average days on market, and then I'm gonna be looking at shows to pending, average. So average days on market is gonna tell me how long on average do homes and whatever criteria I plug in stay on the market before they sell. And then shows to pending is gonna show me of those houses, how many showings did it get before it sold? So again, easy example, if an average days on market's 30 and it has 30 shows to pending, I need to be getting a showing a day. And if I'm not, I need to increase the condition or decrease the price, right? So let's do a real example. Does anyone have a listing we got right now? I'm trying to think of. I'll just pull one here. Let me pull my zip code. Single family. All right, we'll do this. So I'm looking 73120 zip code, single family house, 2,500 square foot or larger. It's a different market than 1,000 square foot or smaller homes, so I'm being specific here. 2,500 square foot or larger. I'm gonna include 2,000. So 2,000 square foot or larger is what I did in a 3-bed house. So that's the data I'm putting into it. And this is giving me the trending information. So you can see some big variance. Must have had a couple sell. Let me just pull all this out to make it easier. Okay, so you can see average days on market has been, we'll just use like the last 3 months, 22, 27, 18. So after the last 3 months, it's been averaging about 22 days on market. So if this criteria, if I price it accordingly based on what I'm seeing here, I should expect about 22 days on market. So now I go to shows per pending on average as well. And I've got 13, 11, and 13. So we'll call it 12. So I need 12 showings in 22 days. Does that make sense where I'm getting that? So if I have an average of 22 days on market and I need 12 showings to go pending, I need 0.58 showings a day, right? So that turns into one showing every other day. So about 3 to 4 showings a week is what I'm needing. So this is pre-market. This is me looking at historic data and talking to my client. We are seeing about a 22 average days on market. We're seeing about 12 shows to pending, so we need about a showing every other day. So we're gonna put it out there, and how quick you adjust is really up to the seller's needs and timeline. If they're fine, they don't have another house under contract, they're just kind of putting it out there, maybe it's vacant or a rental or something, they don't care when it sells, maybe wait 30 days before you make an adjustment. But if they have a house under contract, contingency, and they need to move town or whatever, and they need to be quick, then maybe you adjust quicker. But I wouldn't say ever do anything before 2 weeks. At least 2 weekends worth of data before you do anything. And then typically don't change, if you price it right, don't change it until the average days on market hits typically. So again, in this example, if we price it right and we're getting a showing every other week, and after 22 days we haven't sold yet, then we're gonna start talking, we're gonna start looking around what other houses have sold, what conversations are we having. But really, this is where you wanna set the expectation of the client. So if we listed high, and I told you we really need about a showing every other day, and we're getting like 2 showings a week or like 1 showing a week instead, and 3 weeks goes by and we've only gotten 3 showings, now we can have that conversation. Hey, remember I told you all the other houses around us are getting about 3 to 4 showings a week. We're getting 1. It's been 22 days. We haven't had any offers. I think we should look at bringing the price down or painting that room or replacing that tile or whatever it might be, right? So this is where you set the expectation of what we're going to be looking at and what's going to be happening. Very rarely do you price it right, get the average showings, and it not sell within an average days on market. Very, very rarely, unless it's a unique property. Very rarely does that happen. If you're in Oklahoma City and there's enough data, the market is going to be very, very consistent. Now, if you're out on land or have weird, unique properties and there's not enough data to support it, it's going to be harder. But that's where you can tell them up front. So that way, when 22 days comes and you're like, oh, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to tell them, you already told them up front. We're not getting the showings, we're not getting any offers, we need to make an adjustment. It's easier to have that conversation now than when the house actually isn't selling. So this is how we're going to set expectation with the clients up front. Average is 22, we need 12, so we need 1 every other day. And they're going to say, okay, so that's what we're looking for. So after 2 or 3 weeks goes by, now that they know that in their head, if they're not getting 1 every other day, they're going to ask us, hey, you think we should drop the price soon? We're not getting this. So you've set, now they're watching it like a hawk as well as you are. And so you can have that conversation because you've already set that expectation. So that is how we read the market pre-listing. Reading the market active listing is actual showings coming through. So this is people coming to see the house and getting real live feedback from them. And this is very important. So a lot of especially in the past, couple years, a lot of showing agents don't give any feedback and a lot of listing agents didn't care because if they didn't buy the house, someone else would. But in a real market where we need to guide sellers, we need feedback. I don't know, this is why for sale by owners struggle so much. They don't have any method for receiving actual feedback. Because if you're a realtor and I'm a realtor, I'm gonna tell you like it is about this house. I don't care and you don't care. House is the house. Homeowner, you can't say that. You can't say certain things to a homeowner. Hey, that cat you love that's 22 years old, that pees on everything and makes your house smell, you gotta get rid of that thing while you're trying to sell this house. I can't say that to a homeowner. I can, but it's not gonna be well received. A realtor can tell that to a realtor. And then you cannot be the bad guy because it came from me. Does that make sense? So you can use this dynamic to get constructive feedback. So the key is you have to get feedback from every single showing that comes through. You have to get feedback from every single showing. Probably half the time, you're gonna have to actually reach out to the realtor and say, hey, you showed my house 2 days ago. Can I get some feedback? It was the house on this street that looks like this. They're probably not gonna remember, and they're gonna give you some generic feedback. But most of the time, they're gonna give you some sort of constructive feedback. Why didn't the client like the house? And they're gonna tell you the backyard wasn't big enough or something like that. But every now and then, they're gonna give you something actionable. It was too much work, they didn't want to paint the whole house. Okay, that's an actionable feedback. That buyer liked the home, the characteristics, the location, they just didn't want to take on a huge project of painting and new countertops or whatever, right? So you have to chase down all this feedback so that 20% of it can be constructive for you, actually be actionable. And this is the stuff, these are the conversations we're having with our seller each week. So we're reading real live, active, real-time feedback from buyers so that we can guide our sellers to get a house sold. You can also, there's a way in the MLS where you can input feedback for someone. Again, because sometimes you'll have a seller, you told them to get rid of all the junk, right? All the clutter, and they didn't. And now a buyer says it was too cluttered. I couldn't really see, or they didn't like it because it felt small. Well, it's not small, it's big. There's too much stuff. So I can send that feedback to my seller and say, hey, they're saying your 2,800 square foot house feels small, right? So let's declutter. So you can use that feedback to guide them to do the things they need to go do. You can also edit feedback too. So if they tell you something verbally, you can go in and input it so that it sends it to them as well. That way you can send feedback to your client. And again, you can give them hard feedback too because it's not coming from you. It's coming from them, right? And so if you're getting a couple people say the same thing, like there's a smell or it's too close to the power lines or whatever, then you can take action on that. You can tell your client, hey, we back up to some power lines. 5 of the 8 people who came through mentioned it. Maybe we need to drop the price because that's a condition we can't fix. So all we can do is price drop. So real life feedback, real-time feedback can allow you to adjust to the market. And that's what we're doing on the market. We're chasing down leads, we're doing open house. Best thing you can do, an open house is great for you as an agent to capture buyers, but for a brand new listing, it's a good way to get a bunch of feedback really fast. So if you have a new listing, first week on the market, go do an open house and just get kind of a bunch of feedback real fast. Some will be good, some will be useless, but hopefully you pick up some buyers and you can get some feedback that you can share with your client. You can gauge people's interest in stuff as well. So this is the active listing. How we're reading the market is talking to buyers, getting feedback, kind of aggregating it, and then guiding our sellers on what to do with that feedback. And then again, based on that feedback, there's only 2 things we can do: decrease the price or increase the condition. So again, I use the power line example. If there's something that you just can't affect, there's something you can't change, price is the only lever you can pull. If people are saying they don't want to take on a project, take on the project, make some updates. If it needs to be painted, paint it. But sometimes there's stuff that, again, if it's on a main road, you can't move it from the main road, right? So there's no way you can increase that condition. You can't move it. So the only thing you can do is decrease the price. So having these conversations up front before we need to drop the price will make it easier to drop the price once you're actually in this situation. So I think that is all of them. So again, a couple of main points. Again, house we're selling, price and condition meet. We determine if price and condition meets based on showings and offers. If we're not meeting the market's price and condition expectations, the only thing we can do is drop the price or increase the condition. And we are, and understand that the market will sell, or the market will dictate the price. All kind of makes sense. Those are the things I use over and over again in my listing presentations and when I'm talking with sellers, and weekly when I have my weekly follow-ups with sellers as well. They have to understand all those things because it's not, I had this conversation with Sarah. It's not you're not doing a bad job. Like my job as a real estate agent is to set your expectations, guide you, put the house where it probably needs to be, and then read the market, help read the market for you and guide you to get the home sold. You're an adult. You're gonna price it whatever you want to price it at. If you want to follow my advice, we'll list it. If you don't, we'll list it wherever you want. But you're the adult, you're making the decision. And when you can set expectations properly, it prevents you from having to be on the defense all the time. Because you told them what to expect. You told them what you're seeing. It's not your job to go sell something that's overpriced. Buyer's gonna buy it at whatever price they want, right? So setting the expectation allows you to not feel guilty all the time, like you don't know what you're doing or like you're bad at your job. You set their expectation for them. And now the market will dictate the price. So listings, I used to hate listings when I was brand new, just because I always felt like they thought I sucked. I always felt like they thought I didn't know what I was doing and I couldn't sell their house until I understood how to read the market, how to communicate that to them. And then what's cool about listings is all the work is up front. All the marketing, all the market research, all the expectation setting. Then you list that house, and your hands off. You're going to get more clients now because the market will sell that house in the average days on market based on what you determine, right? So that's the cool thing about listings. But if you don't do all that properly, you're gonna be getting blown up from your sellers. You're gonna feel like you not know what you're doing. You're gonna be stressed out all the time. So set expectations properly allows you to step away and go build more business because it's gonna do, once it's listed and you did everything right, it'll sell itself.